Today's video is on becoming a therapeutic parent, and it's done in two parts. So this is part one. Through my years of doing parent coaching, working with families, I developed a concept, and I call it purposeful parenting. Our main goals here is to have parents achieve a happy home, and we want to change their mindset. That's kind of helping you to wrap your brain around this different type of parenting, because traditional parenting is not going to work. And we want you to gain a new perspective and acceptance of where you're at. It's extremely important, for parents to understand why your children are reacting in the manners that they do. So the way that we can do that is for you to gain an awareness. And it's most important, for parents to understand what's underneath the mad, okay? Most of these kids that have reactive attachment disorder, when they were babies, as we talked about in, videos before, they cried to get their needs met. They were scared and sad. Babies can't do scared and sad, on their own. And so what they do is they kind of block the scared and sad out, and they turn all that into mad. And so most of your rad children are going to react mad. And but that's typically not what they're really feeling. There's a core feeling there, and we need to get to it, okay? And just so you know, you're not going to, and you probably have already tried, you're not going to get anywhere by reacting mad, because they're addicted to mad. They're comfortable with being mad. And so they want to get you mad. They want you to feel a lot of what they're feeling. And so when you react mad, they think they've won, So and the main thing too is what we're trying to do is retrain their brain. And by doing that, we want them to get into their scared and sad, and we want them to also know that their needs are going to be met. That's most importantly. So what parents need to understand is that your child, just like what we talked about in the brain video, they're living in survival mode, okay? And when you're in survival mode, our big method here is to get them out of survival mode and get them into more of a relaxed state where they can take love in and really hear what you're saying and start working other parts of their brain. That's what the whole thing that we're trying to do here. Parents need to understand that their child's brain, it's been wired that way. And why? That's because of the abuse and neglect, okay? New experiences, as we talked about before, are going to create new neuropathways. And it's going to be from the way that we respond. And it's very difficult to learn the new way. But once you learn it, it can be kind of fun, So the more that we keep them learning and exercising their brain like that, the more the brain's going to, prune away the old behavior patterns. So our goal is to get them through the mad and get to the core feeling and get to the scared and sad so that we can nurture those feelings. Okay, so we're going to retrain their brain so that when we can get them to the scared and sad, we immediately have to nurture that. That's the main goal. We're kind of going around through the mad, get to the scared and sad, and nurture it, okay? And the more that we do that, we change the brain, that way. They learn, their mind learns, well, hey, I don't have to be mad. After a while, not right away, but their mind will start learning, hey, my scared and sad gets taken care of. So I don't really need to go through mad, and that's the main objective, okay? I'm a big feelings-based person when I work with kids. I have found that works best because I think once a child knows what they're feeling and they can express it, they can get their needs met. So the more that I help the child become aware of those feelings and I love them through it, the safer they're going to feel, okay? And soon enough, they realize they really don't need to act out and get mad first. And their brain will really start going to the core feeling. This takes really, and it's a lot of work. It takes about 6 months for it to get something to feel like more automatic. So it's a lot of redoing, and rewiring. But the main thing is that we have to meet their need, because their needs were not met when they were a baby. And for me, I would much rather take care of a scared and sad kid than I would a mad kid any day, So As I'm trying to tell you, traditional parenting isn't going to work. If you've had this child for a while, you probably already know that. And I'm trying to teach you some new strategies on how to get started. So what we're doing is intentional parenting that is going to target the neglect, the abuse, and the abandonment that the child suffered. We're going to redo. The child's pathology is providing for itself. It doesn't, when it needed, nobody was there to take care of the need. And so the child is afraid to need again. And that's very, very strong. That's why they have a lot of control issues. They don't trust anyone due to their early childhood trauma. Now, if you have a child that is your biological child, and that this happens, not all children that have RAD uh, come from adopted families. Some children with RAD come from biological families for many different reasons. And the reason for that is because your child has not made a secure attachment with you. Even if it's your biological child, it still hasn't made a secure attachment with you. And ultimately, it doesn't view you as a parent who's safe, who can take care of their needs, okay? But this parenting will help just as much, okay, for you. You can still use all these strategies, even if it is your biological child. There are 4 major principles to purposeful parenting: parental boundaries, nurturing, owning your truth, and positive interaction. So today in this video here, we're going to be talking about parental boundaries and nurturing, okay? Parental boundaries, due to the child's early childhood trauma, okay, that they had during the first 3 years of life. I can't tell you enough how important it is from, in utero to 3 years. The child has controlling behaviors, and they have these controlling behaviors. They think they need the control to stay alive. And the reason for that is because when they were little and when they were a baby and no one came to take care of their needs, and that mad and controlling place came, that's what kind of kept them alive. They don't remember that. Their body does, but, in their memory, they don't remember that. So their world was so out of control that they needed to control their world. To them, they think they need to have control to stay alive. It worked for them back then. And so we kind of have to honor that and understand that. They needed it to stay alive. Many children die in orphanages because their needs are not being met. Okay. So for them, it was good. They needed it back then. It just doesn't work in a healthy family. And so we have to change all of that so that we can get to having a good, healthy family and get this child to feel like that he's going to have a childhood. It does keep their controlling behaviors, will keep others from liking them. Okay. A lot of people, kids notice it too. They're normally not liked very well by other children. And as I think I've said before, probably many times, and I'll say it again, they've kind of confused powerful feelings for happiness. They don't know what true happiness feels like yet. So we want to give that to them. So an example would be if a child that's very controlling makes you pay attention to them. Well, they got what they wanted. You're paying attention to them, whether it be negative or positive. Okay, attention. And they can feel very powerful with that. But they don't truly feel loved because they're making it happen. Okay, so we need to give them attention on our terms. And when we give attention on our terms, then they can know that they are truly loved. The problem with it is they're not comfortable with getting attention from us. So it's kind of like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. So there's different methods that we have to use because they feel very uncomfortable getting that attention. They don't want to let go of control, but it is that kind of taking the control away and getting the love in is what's really going to heal their heart. And so we need to make that happen for them. You can't give love if a child is fake and phony and they have the mask on, and they're just being, and if you have a child that's reactive attachment disorder, I think you know what I mean, where they're just kind of fake and phony and clingy and all of that. That's not going to happen. You really have to get them to their real place. And so all of this has to happen on the parents' terms and for them to lose, that control. So when it happens, it's really scary for them. They haven't learned to reach out to get their needs met. Again, remember, they reached out when they were a baby and nothing happened. So that is not a habit that they're going to continue. And they haven't developed an appetite for closeness yet. So if you've tried to hold your child that has reactive attachment disorder and they're pushing away, it's really just fear, okay? It's not that they don't, they just haven't tasted what love really feels like yet, is all it is. And this is pretty typical. So they have it's kind of they push your love away and they'll say mean things. They'll do things that make, some kids will keep themselves real dirty, so you don't want to hold them. They just don't want to submit over to you because it's kind of like a chess game. They think they're losing and you're winning. They don't understand that by submitting over and letting you love them, they don't know what that feeling is going to feel like. They have no idea. So they're very anxious. When they finally do make an attachment, they have feelings of feeling like they're going to get on a roller coaster ride. And you know that when you're going to get on a roller coaster, it feels really exciting and scary at the same time. And that's not, it's a very anxious feeling when they start to kind of like it. And they can't live in that feeling for very long. Because who could? I mean, nobody wants to walk around feeling like you're going to get on a roller coaster ride, all the time. So what I do is I really just kind of take control of that too. And I let them know, hey, we felt kind of close here for a little while, and that felt good. Normally it might just be a little stretch. It could just be a minute, that you felt close. He's going to know it and you're going to know it because it's going to hit your heart and you're going to know it. That's going to be up in your lap, you're rubbing their head, you're making eye contact. All of that I'll show you in another video of how to get that to happen. But the reality is they end up at first pushing you away. And then even after they do feel something good, what happens to moms is, they have the child on their lap and they're feeling this closeness. And then 10 minutes later, the child's doing something, that's pushing them away. And it can really hurt a mother's heart then. If you understand this, they can't hold on to closeness. They have to go back to what's comfortable. What's comfortable for them is to feel distant. And so for me, I just say, hey, you're probably not going to handle this very long, and you're probably going to feel like you need to blow it up. But normally when I say that, it kind of takes all the fun out of blowing it up for them, Plus I'm the one that's in control of that now, and they don't have anything to feel bad about, So normally I kind of de-escalate that place of where they were going to blow it up and say something nasty or push me away or what have you. So that's something that you can learn to do, and that's very helpful. And just so you know, after they start really attaching and they feel very connected, and when they start really loving getting in your lap, which they will, they are going to go through the normal process of separation anxiety as well. So sometimes you get a child that likes to go to school and stay away from you, and then it flips. They want to stay home with you, and they don't like to go to school. And we'll talk about that later, but these are just the different steps that the kids go to. So the method's taught. What mom has to do that you want to learn how to do is you want to exercise a strong alpha role with your child. You're strong, you're alpha, you can handle anything, okay? You have a calm, loving, direct presence about yourself. Okay, the more you educate yourself about what your child's needs are, and what you're getting yourself into, you can. They need to feel like you could take care of anything, just like a baby feels like that. A baby feels like a mom's supposed to know what's wrong, and she figures it out. And unfortunately, a lot of man-made problems have happened for this child. And with that, you still have to be the mom to figure it out. And they're still counting on you to figure it out. They don't know. And you have to figure it out. It all falls on you, unfortunately. So I'm just letting you know that now. So you have a calm, loving, direct presence combined with loving nurture. Okay, it's really a deep nurturing. There's no in-betweens. So you're a loving, nurturing parent, and you're an alpha mom. Okay, there's no in-betweens. They can't handle that at all. They can't handle what I call wiggle room. All right. And you have to understand they're addicted to control. All right. It's something they feel that they have to have. And so what we want to do is to get them addicted to your love, and then they can let go of the control. The control stands in the way of them taking your love in. And if you let them have control, it's kind of like telling an alcoholic or a drug user, well, here, have a beer. It's okay. Take a sip, or here's a little meth. It just that doesn't work. You have to take the control away. But you don't just, it's not, when you're taking the control away, it's not like, well, this is my way. We're going to do it my way. That's not what I mean about being alpha. What I mean about that is they don't have control over your emotions. Okay. They don't have control over your family. You've got it going on. And I'll teach you lots of different strategies about that. We don't want to enable them, okay, at all. We understand why they need control. Totally. We understand that. And as we bond with them, we want them to learn to rely and depend on us, okay? We're their primary caretaker, just like a baby would. And not to rely on their control. We don't coddle them, we cuddle them, okay? So we're not coddling them and the poor, pitiful child, any of that kind of thing. We cuddle with them, okay? We hold them, we're bonding with them. We don't treat them like they're incapable, like a baby, okay? But yet we go back and do and redo what they didn't get as a baby. So we're not trying to say, I'm not trying to say baby them. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I don't want that to get confused. What I'm trying to say is we're going to take them back and we're going to redo what didn't happen for them as a baby. Okay. And other ways that we go about this is certainly that helping them do a good job 100% and strong sitting, which we'll talk about that in other videos as well. We don't want them to get into, they were a victim, yes, and we can love them through the problems that they've had, but we don't want them to get into a victim mentality. That is not good for them at all. They're not going to grow from that. Parents need to learn to set strong boundaries and consequences. This is really big, strong boundaries and kind of natural consequences. We want to help them. The frontal lobe up here, the cause and effect, that's not working. And so we need to teach them cause and effect. We help them to feel safe and learn to trust. And we train I'm trying to train parents to recognize and understand when you allow your child to manipulate, triangulate, or negotiate, this is absolutely can't happen with an attachment disorder child. No manipulation, and you've got to be able to learn when no means no. No, we're not going to do that. No, that's not happening today. And it isn't said like, no, that's not going to happen. You're not going to do that to me. It's just, no, we're not doing that. I know what you're doing. It's not going to happen. I love you. Everything's done in a very calm, assertive way with this child and a lot of love. Okay. Always leaving with a good, loving ending. In the beginning, nurturing a child on the parent's terms. All right. This doesn't mean that a child, comes up in your lap and and it is clingy and that kind of thing. That's a controlling kind of thing. All right. And a lot of moms experience. It's just like it feels weird. It's because it's controlling when they're holding you. It's not right. It doesn't feel right. It has control in it. So you got to pay attention to your gut feelings with that. So in the beginning, nurturing a child on the parents' terms is hard to accomplish, but definitely has to happen for them to get better. You need to create, what you need to create is calm, firm, loving environment. So what you're going to do is you're going to regulate their emotions so that they're not in defense mode. This is what happens with babies when they're crying. We come in and it's external regulation that we give to a baby. And that's what they need is external regulation from us. Children with attachment issues normally feel really very scared in receiving love. What parents need to learn is to read, interpret, and empathize with your child. And the child learns that as control is taken away, nurturing takes its place. Okay, so they're letting go of control a little bit, and you're getting some nurturing in, and it kind of starts to level out. Okay, and what they end up learning is that they discover that a good, safe feeling and feeling love, getting nurtured, is worth more to them. To have that love is worth more than the control. I've never had a child that was controlling, and after they got, bonded and and attached to me, to say, well, I'd rather control. I've never had that ever happen with all the children. I've had 150 children come live with me over the past, 30 years, and I always told them, hey, you know what control's like, why not just find out what this is like, and want to find out what attachment feels like, find out what it feels like to feel loved. And I've never had a child ever say, well, I'd rather be controlling than have an attachment. So they don't know that at first, but then they find that out. So how do we start? We try to get all of our wheels in motion here is what we're trying to do, okay? You kind of feel like a short order cook because you're doing all these different things. Again, we talked about finding a good attachment therapist. Always, that's the main thing. And what your professionals should instruct you with is how to hold your child. For me, they're in my lap, one arm's behind here, their head is here, and I'll certainly show you a picture of what that looks like. And we're talking, just like you would kind of like a baby. You're comfortable, you're on the couch, and I am the more alpha figure, so I'm above them, they're under me, and it's really, really, really good eye contact is what I'm making with them, okay? So what the therapist is going to do is help you learn to tip into the deeper emotions that lie, there. As you're holding the child, we have sensories on our skin. We're close to that child. The body does remember the trauma that it went through. And the therapist is going to help maneuver to get to those core feelings. And that's our chance at that point in time to nurture those feelings. That come up when the scared and sad comes up, or whatever feelings are there, that we can be there with the child when they were alone with this trauma. Now they actually have somebody, to go have a parent go through this with them. I did talk to you before that the child is definitely going to blow the closeness up at the beginning because they're uncomfortable with it, and they want to keep you at a distance. And again, don't be shocked about that. I just want to let you know that that's going to happen. I know with my son, what I used to do is I had a stopwatch, and when I was holding him and we were having some really good close time, I had a stopwatch, and I would see how I'd say, hey, I wonder how long we can hang on to this closeness, and we did it that way. And then afterwards, sometimes I would say, hey, I wonder how long it's going to take before you feel like blowing it up. And that made him much more mindful that it was going to happen. And then we worked on ways that when he felt like he was going to blow it up, that he could tell me, hey, I feel scared right now. I feel like I'm going to, blow this up, or, I feel like I, can't keep staying close to you like this, or I feel like you don't really love me. These kind of children are very competitive. So the more you put out in front of them, well, maybe you can do this, for 5 more minutes next time. They're very competitive, and they like to reach a goal. And just so you know, I never deal with good and bad. I always deal with weak and strong. Those are the words that I use, weak and strong. Are you strong enough for this? Are you too weak for this, do you think? We don't say good and bad. And again, I've never met a child with RAD that didn't end up loving bonding. Never. Never has that happened. And that might be kind of hard to believe if you have a child that's fighting you right now to be in their lap, but they end up really, really loving it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you get a lot out of it. Doing this work is really tough, and it's really hard. Just remember, you can't always implement everything in at one time. Take one thing a week, or and see how that goes. But thank you very much for watching. And if you have any further questions or want to discuss anything further, feel free to make an appointment, and I'll be happy to talk with you.